Hi, I'm Sandy Peterson. I've been a game designer for 35 years. I got my start doing the very first Lovecraft game, Call of Cthulhu. From that time, I worked on lots of role-playing and tabletop games, including the first version of Arkham Horror published by Chaosium. I then went into the computer game field where I worked on the computer game Civilization, Doom, Doom 2, Quake, the entire Age of Empires series, Halo Wars, and finally I've come around again full circle to doing tabletop games again with my new release of Cthulhu Wars. Back in 1980, when I did Call of Cthulhu, it set up the paradigm for almost all future Lovecraft games, which is heroic investigators fighting against the foul powers of the unknown. That was a cool paradigm. I liked it a lot. A lot of games have followed that since then. Almost every Lovecraft game is investigators against the monsters. I didn't want to do that again, but what I wanted to do was see Cthulhu in all his power, rising from the sea, blanketing the world with telepathy, mountains of protoplasm sweeping across the land. And always in Call of Cthulhu and other Lovecraft games, the game ends before that point. You're trying to prevent that, but I wanted to see that. So Cthulhu Wars, you get to see it. Now, since humanity can't really withstand that, the only way to have a competitive game is for the other players to be creatures just as awe-inspiring and terrifying as Cthulhu, and that's where Cthulhu Wars came about. The function of the Doom track in Cthulhu Wars is that everyone sort of wins the same way by getting their Doom points up to 30. Of course, the way you reach that is different for every faction, so it gives you lots of variety, but you're all looking at that track. The other thing that I really like about the Doom track is that it kind of sets a game timer up. The game is entropic. Gates never go away, you never lose spellbooks, Doom points never reduced, desecrations stay on the map, and as a result, as the game plays, even if you have more and more power, that more and more power leads to more and more desolation on the world. And the Doom track goes further and it hits that wall and the game's gonna end. And that lets you not have a game that goes on for hours and hours but has a climax, which I like, so. The game's called Cthulhu Wars. You gotta have combat and a way to fight. There's gotta be deaths. The combat is targeted so there's usually not that many deaths unless the big guys come into play. Instead, mostly you're trying to drive guys off areas so you can take over their gates. And that's how I like it. Although sometimes the combat's random enough, you can have like a really good roll or a really bad roll, and that adds excitement. People are getting ready to roll a bunch of dice and they're like, oh man, I hope I get 3 kills in this, or whatever they're trying to get. But also, even if you get a bad roll or the guy gets a good roll, it doesn't usually upset the game. If you plan your combats well and you know what you're fighting for, you can lose plenty of combats and still win the game, and that's the key to success in Cthulhu Wars. The original expansion for Cthulhu Wars that I had the most fun working on was Opener of the Way, because he had such outlandish powers and he broke all the rules that people had normally been operating with. So that was pretty exciting to see people's eyes open up when they realized that Yog-Sothoth is a gate and he can move gates around and he can copy your power, and that was tremendously fun. I am really happy with the way that the Sleeper expansion came out. And this is because the Sleeper, he doesn't win any more often than any other faction, but he's really fun to play, so much so that when I was doing playtests, people would squabble over who got to be Sleeper, and that's really pleasant for a game designer to watch. The people that do best at Cthulhu Wars are not only the people that know how to use their own faction well, but they're the people that keep a close eye on what the other people are doing. They can tell what Crawling Chaos is about to launch now that he got a Hunting Horror. They can see that Black Goat is ready to start avataring around, and they watch these other guys, they see what they're doing, they try to be able to be ready to react to the things that are coming up. They know what the other people's spells are, and they watch. You have to be sensitive, I guess. It sounds weird in a game about giant warring monsters, but that's really how you win the game. Well, obviously I'm excited about all the expansions, but the one that I'm most keen on, and I think a lot of people share this, is the new Cho-Cho faction. A new faction is a pretty exciting thing for Cthulhu Wars. It finally lets us use that 8th part of the map when you get the 6 to 8 player map, and it's neat also because it's a human-based faction. It's not, I mean, they do have a Great Old One, but he's not really in charge of them. It's the humans doing all the work and interfering with other people, so it's pretty cool to see the humans strike back, even if these humans are the Cho-Chos. Every time I make up a new Great Old One or add a new expansion or put in a new map for Cthulhu Wars, I spend time thinking about how this expansion is going to affect play, and then I play test it and see how it happens. If the expansion or the add-on makes the game take significantly longer, then I focus in on ways to stop that and switch it around and make it quicker, because I want the game to always be fast and punchy. As one example, the map expansions to Cthulhu Wars don't add to the map to give you this huge colossal map you can play for hours. Instead, they replace the existing maps so you have a new place to play. The new Great Old Ones don't make the game take longer because now you have more monsters. They add new powers to speed up things and give you more abilities, and they kind of accelerate the game. I always try to have everything, all the expansions, be things that will give you more adrenaline rather than give you more bulk and mass, if that makes sense. It's like the difference between a long wrestling match and sumo. I know sumos are big guys, but if you ever watch a sumo match, it's really quick, it's full of energy. They're at their 10-20 seconds, it's over. I want Cthulhu Wars to do that, to infuse energy and power, not colossal size. I read my first Lovecraft story when I was 8 years old. I wrote the very first Lovecraft-based game. Lovecraft I've been associated with it for decades. I'm very focused on it. I don't think I will ever abandon Lovecraft. I have other interests, but Lovecraft is always at the core of my being. I even have a large oil painting of Cthulhu hanging in my living room in the place that other people might have a black velvet painting of dogs playing poker. One thing I learned from my video game career is I learned how to do highly effective, highly efficient, and really excellent balance and play testing. That has been invaluable to me on Cthulhu Wars. I have these extremely asymmetrical factions that are clashing on planets that change from time to time, and they've got to be balanced. And so that's the thing I took away from the computer games, is the ability to do that. Two things that a new game designer, or what would-be game designer, needs to have are: first, he has to be able to communicate. You have to be able to explain to other people what you want, when you want it, and make it clear at every point what your needs are. Second, you need to be organized. People are depending on you. You have to be able to know where things are, find them. You can have a messy desk if you know where everything is on that desk. But it's organization and it's communication. Those are the two key features of a game designer. Hey, at one level, that's all I am, is a fan. I'm just making variants for a game I love. Of course, I have the ability to make these games and publish them so people can see my things in a formal view, but it doesn't make me a level higher. It's just at one level, we're all fans, we all love Lovecraft. Hopefully we love this game, and we can all do things for it, and I have no problem with anyone doing alterations to the game that fits their gaming group or their personality better. The takeaway lessons of design philosophy for Sandy Peterson are: first, I want players to have fun right away when they're playing the game, from the opening moment. And second, I design games that I really want to play, that I'm interested in, instead of trying to make it for like a large casual market. This is because I figure there's enough people who are bent like me who would like this game and be fanatics of it, and I want to please those guys because they're my peers. I don't know if it's a mechanic exactly, but I really like asymmetrical games, and I have done so ever since Cosmic Encounter came out in 1975. man, I love that game. And since then, there's been a lot of asymmetrical games come out. Of course, the Age of Empire series I work on has asymmetry, and I'm just really keenly interested in this kind of dynamic strategy and imbalance in games. So I've been trying to put it into my board games. With Cthulhu Wars, and some other games that have been coming out over the last couple of years, we've tried to create a new type of game for the hobby market. Sometimes they're called a premium game or a luxury game. The idea is that you have a game which has terrific components, which Cthulhu Wars certainly has, plus it has absolutely stellar top-end gameplay. It's like the whole package. It might be more expensive, but it sets up, it's a gem of your gaming shelf, a premier game. These games could never have been done in the past. But now, with the advent of crowdfunding, I can go directly to you, the fans, and say, hey, are you willing to pay a slightly higher price for way better quality? And the answer has been a resounding yes. Well, my favorite monster in the game is whatever monster I recently pulled off an awesome victory with. But I will say that if I was talking about the stories, I love Shoggoths. Those have always captured my imagination. In terms of importance, I would have to say Reanimator, because that movie started helping make Lovecraft more available to the public at large. In terms of the one I like the most, it's going to have to be Dagon, because this is a really good reproduction of the story The Shadow over Innsmouth. It even has the chase scene in the middle where he's moving the locks around. I really like Dagon. I think it's a really great rendition of The Shadow over Innsmouth. I'm Sandy Peterson. Thanks for watching.